Hello there. I'm Koios, the Rōnin BeatMaker, and welcome to Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. And before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And on this episode, we're going to discuss hold on. I made a mistake. There we go. Yasuke versus the woke right. Round 2. So, some more news was dropped around Assassin's Creed Origins. For anyone out there, I'm sure if you're a gamer, you're well aware of what has been going on. The woke right gamers are still at it again, and this time around, some new developments regarding the game. Now, to give a quick little recap, a new Assassin's Creed game is dropping, and it's going to be taking place in feudal Japan, and you have two characters. One is a female shinobi or a ninja. The other is a samurai who's black, and the name is Yasuke. So, the woke right gaming culture, Yellow Flash, Edmion, all those guys, Ryan Clennell, whatever, all those guys, the woke right pop culture movement, they started freaking out. Twitter started freaking out. Japan seems to be kind of like, I don't know, they seem to be in a bit of a mixed bag in regards to the situation. But what I wanted to talk about essentially was like, and as I was saying in round 1, is that like the freak out around this game is so like, it's a lot of it is racism, a lot of it is just fragile mindsets, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of these woke right pop culture commentators, these game reviewers, a lot of them, they really are very fragile, and a lot of them are kind of bigoted, a lot of them are kind of racist, a lot of them are just jerks. They love taking a lot of the pop culture controversies and movements and issues and whatever, and exasperating them, exploiting them, blowing them out of proportion for their own personal gains. I mean, hey, that's the reality of being a grifter. And when it comes to this game, Yasuke in the game, one thing I find fascinating is that and you know what, let's actually jump into it. So let's jump into the new controversy right now. Let's actually get into that. Why not? So right now, the newest controversy regarding Yasuke or Assassin's Creed Shadows, um, which I'm still trying to figure out why this is a problem. But here we got it from learning the law. Is Ubisoft website confirms Assassin's Creed Shadows will have romantic relationships with different types of people. Finally, the first bisexual non-binary black samurai. And here we have the quote from it. It says, Noe and Yasuke's desperate personalities also lead them to have different relationships and rapports with other characters. And they don't always feel the same way about people, nor do people always feel the same way about them. Romantically, they will also attract and be attracted to different types of people. Through the pair, players will get to experience a multitude of relationships. So, they freaked out about this. So they're going crazy. Grums, Yellow Flash, all the woke right pop culture commentary, they're freaking out over this. And I was kind of sitting there and kind of thinking to myself, and I was like, where was the backlash with Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Because anyone out there, if you're a gamer and you're familiar with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which for me personally is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, I haven't beaten it yet. It's such, you know how their games are so massive. But in that game, you can play as either a Greek soldier or a female soldier. So, and if you know anything about Spartan culture, women at that time, they were very athletic, they were very strong, and they were dangerous. So there's no surprise to the idea of these very strong Greek women, as opposed to the women that you would see in Athens. There are plenty of documentaries, plenty of books regarding the female prowess of Spartan women. And so in that game, you can play as, I think her name was Cassandra in the game. And I went on to YouTube to see if, like, because, Yellow Flash, he immediately put out a video that this is like the LGBTQ Black Samurai. So I went on to YouTube and we'll do this together. So, everyone can see. And I was typing in. Oh, it's not gonna work. Okay, well, it's not gonna work for me right now. But essentially, I typed in onto YouTube like Yellow Flash, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, anything. No issues. Nobody had any issues with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And in that game, many of you out there who have played it know that either whether you play as Cassandra or what was his name, Alexis, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but you can play as either character, and you can essentially have relationships with any of the side characters in the game. So it didn't matter whether you played as the female character or the male character, because you can have any type of relationship with any of the characters where there is a relationship potential. So, and if you know anything about Greek history, you know that the Greeks back in the day were freaks. They had plenty of freak-offs. All right, where do you think Diddy probably got some of his ideas? I mean, like, this whole idea, it almost seems as if they're trying to make it seem as if like there were no freak-offs in feudal Japan. But a lot of these, woke right pop culture commentators, they loved and praised Blue Eye Samurai, which I did a review of the show. They loved Blue Eye Samurai. They thought it was a phenomenal show. And I don't even I don't want to spoil anything, but they literally use a historical event that happened in feudal Japan and blamed it on a half white woman. I kid you not. They took an actual historical event and made it seem like the person who was responsible for this event was a half white woman, half Japanese woman who's also half white. So it's like, okay, so they can do that in Netflix. Make this show about a female samurai, which historically there were. And she goes on this crazy, revenge quest. Everyone loved it. No one had a problem with it. It was, more historically accurate in terms of the way people dressed, the structures of the architecture, and also they also displayed how sexually freaky the Japanese people were at that time. And if you've looked into the Edo period, and if you know anything about some of their most incredible sexual drawings, you will also know that they had sex books on different positions and things of that nature. So we can't to pretend as if that they are they were a regal society that were very conservative and well behaved and well mannered and all this stuff. These are the same people that loved Shogun. And in the first episode of Shogun, you watch a Japanese man boil a white man alive. And what, second episode, you watch a Japanese man watch one of his young retainers have sex with a prostitute, and he draws it. These were some wild people. So to and the point that I'm trying to make here and is that they're trying to make it seem this whole LGBTQ, like, oh, they're turning the black samurai gay and da 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 this, and he's gonna have sleep with transgender samurais and non-binary monks and all this wild stuff, because the woke right, they have completely become the woke left, and they're so triggered by everything. um and I'm laughing to myself because they had no problem with the blue eye samurai. I don't know if it's because it was a white chick. I guarantee you that if it was the same show, but it wasn't, it was the brown eye samurai, and she was half Japanese and half black. Same show, same premise, everything phenomenal. They would probably criticize the show and not like it as much. And I'm not trying to play like a race baiter or anything like that, but I'm gonna call it out how it is. And the fact also to me is like, okay, so you guys had no problem with Blue Eye Samurai, but you have a problem with Yasuke. Blue Eye Samurai, not based on any actual historical white half female samurai that went around killing the white men in Japan. Not based on any historical accuracy or anything like that. Yasuke, fine. He was a servant, a lesser than whatever. You can, if you want to call him a servant and downgrade him, fine. I don't care. But we can't have imagination with it. There's literally a Yasuke animated show on Netflix. It's not really that good. The music in it is pretty dope. I think it's by Flying Lotus, and some of the fight animations are pretty good. But in that animated show, he's a samurai. No one cared. No one talked about it. So apparently Yasuke was in a bunch of other Japanese video games. He wasn't the main character, or he was a playable character. No one batted an eye. Okay, so let's talk about Ubisoft right now in their current state. Let's be real now. Ubisoft doesn't really make quality games anymore. Are we going to say that Assassin's Creed Vikings Valhalla is historically accurate? No, it's not. Let's be real here. The way that they depict the way the dressing of Vikings of that time is historically really, really inaccurate. And you can contribute a lot of that to Vikings. The Vikings TV show kind of made the Viking style really cool with the shaved sides and the tattoos and things like that. But if you watch proper Viking shows, or if you watch the movie The Northman, you realize that the way Vikings dressed in Assassin's Creed Valhalla is not the historically accurate way Vikings dressed, or how their weapons worked. So, they're complaining about historical, that, Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't historically accurate when Assassin's Creed Valhalla wasn't even historically accurate. So what do we pick and choose what we're mad about in terms of historical accuracy and inaccuracies? Because if we're that mad about historical accuracies in our video games, then I don't understand why they were not mad about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And then, this whole idea that they're not realistic games. But I want to take a sidestep to all of that kind of realistic stuff, because I talked about it in first part, in round one. But what I want to talk about is, like, one of the real issues that they have that we're not talking about. And Asmongold, I think, made a decent point when he said that, they're using this controversy of Yasuke to hide the fact that the game costs over $109. Now, I know many of you out there who are gamers or casual gamers, you've seen the price of the new Assassin's Creed Shadows. You even saw the price for Star Wars Outlaws, which is another Ubisoft game. $109. For the basic game is $60, and you only get the bare bones. In my mind, that's more criminal than having an African samurai. Because look at how they're treating the customer. They're forcing you to buy the 109 game, which also includes that, like, what was it, like $17 a month season pass for the game. That's totally fucked up. A game shouldn't be like that. But this is Ubisoft we're talking about, so no one should be surprised. Okay, you want historical, accuracies in Ubisoft games. I would like the game to come out when it works. Many of us out there who are gamers, how often do we buy these games from AAA and the game comes to us half broken? So we're more concerned about playing in a historical character who's fictionalized and inspired by that time period. So we're more mad that you have to play as a black samurai than we are mad at the consistency of Ubisoft's treatment towards gamers and their customers. Shouldn't we be more mad about that? But we're gonna spend all our time. We're gonna listen to these woke right gamers and pop culture commentators cry about being able to play as a black samurai who might be able to have sex with a dude and also have sex with a girl. You could literally do this in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, no complaints. Okay, well, what about Mass Effect 2? You could literally, there's the black dude that's on Shepard's team. You can literally develop a relationship and sleep with him. Like, if you wanted to, you could sleep with all the people in the game. That was in Mass Effect 2. So is Shepard, is he part of the LGBTQ movement? Or but so make this make sense to me. They were mad about Lando, and that, like, they made him I forgot what it was, but he'll have sex with different aliens, and then they were insinuating that he has sex with robots, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is weird. They've turned Lando into this woke weird thing." And I'm like, hold on a second. Within the next 10 years, you could buy a sex doll, and it will have sex with you. That's literally going to happen. So I don't understand. You're mad that Lando sleeps with various aliens, but we have to also remember this is the Star Wars universe. There's no pronouns. There are male and sex biologies, but there's also aliens, and maybe they don't have the same biology. Maybe they reproduce asexually. Okay, so Lando's having sex with an asexual alien. To all of us, that would be no surprise because he's a womanizer. He's a galactic, a galactic alienizer. So, but we were all cool with Lando. We're cool with Kurt. But I guarantee you, Kurt probably had sex with an androgynous alien, or probably had sex with an asexual alien that was female oriented at that time. But okay. So the point that I'm trying to kind of make here is like we're really gonna argue and spend all of our time complaining about the fact that you can have sex with different characters in an imaginary game in a fictional Japan, but we're not going to complain about the fact that Ubisoft is exploiting us in terms of the price gouging of their games, or the fact it's the same repetitive stuff. Let me ask you a question, everyone that's listening, and I appreciate everyone that's taking their time out of their day. I know it's if you're out in the U.S. on my side, it's lovely and it's a bit hot, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. Please make sure to hit that like button. Think about it this way, right? So we're caught up about that, but we're not caught up about the price gouging and the fact that Ubisoft hasn't really put out any good games. Really. It's the same format. They haven't changed their system. And really, when was the last time this was actually an Assassin's Creed game? Let me get this straight. In Black Flag, you play as an assassin that's a pirate, and you go around attacking ships. Is that what assassins do? Do assassins have ships and go around pillaging ships? It's called Assassin's Creed. When has Assassin's Creed been Assassin's Creed? Maybe with Assassin's Creed Origins, it kind of went back to basics. I've heard rumors about that. I've seen some of the gameplay. But the point that I'm trying to say here is, when has Assassin's Creed been about striking from the dark and being hidden? We have these crazy, fantastical science fiction concepts. A lot of these concepts can actually be found within antiquity and within the occult. I mean, we're not gonna argue about the fact that the Ubisoft games are advocating and promoting a lot of occult ideas and ideology, but we're mad that we can play as a black samurai that goes around, having sex with having freak offs. When you can literally in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there's one character you have sex with, and you literally have a goat that has sex with you. There's literally a scene where you're in an orgy with a goat. For anyone out there who's played Assassin's Creed Odyssey and made it that far, you are well aware that there is an orgy that you can join and that a goat joins in on the orgy. Now, are they going to go back and start complaining about Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Where if you play as a guy in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that means that you had an orgy with another dude and a bunch of other guys and girls and a goat. So what are we really mad about here? I can't tell. Are they mad about because he's black? Are they mad that you can have sex with men and women in the game? But they weren't mad about that with Mass Effect 2. They weren't mad about that with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And that came out in like what, 2016? I'm trying to I like, this is also what I want people to kind of realize about the grift, that they're kind of exploiting your emotions. Oh man, this is really good. So my mom gave me these juices. They're called Julian's Juice Box. Really good. This one's called Apple a Day. 4 ingredients: Granny Smith apple, Pink Lady apple, Fuji apple, and ginger. And let me tell you, this hits on a hot, fresh day like this. But let's continue. The point that I'm trying to say here is, when you see a lot of these woke right pop culture commentators, start going to the point where you look at their thumbnails and it's just blatant racism, it's just blatant bigotry or homophobia. And listen, that's your prerogative. If that's what you want to do, fine. I'm not here to tell you how to, work your grift. But I want people out there to just be aware that a lot of these elements in the Assassin's Creed game, especially in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, has already been prevalent. And like I'm saying, there was a video of a history teacher using Assassin's Creed Odyssey's eagle eye, where you saw as the eagle, to point out historical landmarks and sites. But remember that Ubisoft is a very different company than it was back in the day. So the attention to detail, you're not going to have that as much as you used to have in Ubisoft games in the past. And that goes with many AAA games. How many of these AAA companies have ran out and pushed out all of the old breed, all of the old guard? The foundation that built Ubisoft, the foundation that built Rocksteady, all of these, so many of the original creators have left and went on to create their own new game development companies, or went off to do other things and they were done. And so then you have the push in of the ideologues into these AAA companies. You have BlackRock, you have Vanguard, you have the push for, the DEI stuff, a lot of the Marxist ideology that's being implemented into corporatism. So yes, you have all of that. I'm not going to pretend that that's not an issue. Of course it's an issue. But we also have to take into consideration that these people, the people that made a lot of these games iconic, were pushed out long ago. And many of these games became corporatized. You look at Destiny. I love Destiny. I have not played Destiny in almost nearly a year. I'm protesting it after the layoff. How are you going to lay off the guy who creates the music for Destiny? How are you going to do that? Why? But the CEOs, they didn't take a pay cut. But we also have to take into consideration that Destiny was losing itself because it became all about the microtransactions and the Eververse store. I will compare it to Warframe. If any of you guys have played Warframe has a better reward system than Destiny ever will. I don't know. It blows my mind why nobody talks about Warframe, and how I can log into Warframe and I'll get like a 70% off for anything in the store for 48 hours. Or they'll just give you resources. Or they'll give you a gun. Or a new sword. Blueprints. When you log in. They have so many ways where you can get really cool weapons and blueprints and all that fun jazz without having to spend money. And that's in Warframe I'm talking about. But the reason why I'm bringing up Destiny in that example is like, you have to look at what happens when a lot of these games, when the people who are the heart, who are the foundation, leave. And the games become corporatized. Why are we shocked that Ubisoft is just churning out Assassin's Creed this, Assassin's Creed that? But even like I said in round one, where was the complaining about playing as Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Where is the complaining about playing as that female Assassin's Creed character in Louisiana or in New Orleans? There was no complaints about her. So this is something I want people to keep in mind when you listen to a lot of these, woke right pop culture commentators and gamers. They're manipulating your emotions. They're manipulating the information. I already called out Grums in part one and how he went from claiming that this game is erasing his heritage and history to then going and claiming that, oh, well, as long as the game is good, then and it's not DEI force, then I'm totally okay with it and I'll have fun playing the game. So this is Grums, the guy who helped create World of Warcraft, a very important person. Here's one of the figureheads. And he went from race baiting and grifting off of the game, saying, "Oh, it's called Assassin's Creed Shadows. Oh, is Ubisoft making some racist undertones?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, here you are race baiting. You're saying that because it's called Assassin's Creed Shadows, they're being racist because there's a black samurai. But then he goes and says, "Oh, well, I'm getting information told to me that this was the character all along, and as long as it's not a DEI force and the story's good, I'm okay with the game." And this is the Asian man, the man who's being erased from video games. And this is the point that I'm trying to make for everyone to see through the BS. And to really take a second and pause and be like, okay, what am I really supposed to be mad at? What's really the issue here? If you can have sex with any various characters in the previous Assassin's Creed Odyssey game, maybe in Valhalla, I'm not sure, but if you can do those things, that's nothing new. Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out in 2016, 2015, somewhere around there. So that's not a new concept. Mass Effect 2, not a new concept. So these are not new concepts. Sims. Who has played Sims? These aren't new concepts. So when you have channels like Yellow Flash and Ryan and all those people doing this kind of stuff, they're grifting off of you and they're playing off of your emotions and manipulating you and getting views disingenuously and inauthentically. And no diss to them. If that's what they want to do and you want to support them, go ahead. I'm not saying don't. And like I said in my previous episode, I do check into some of their content. Sometimes they say things I agree with, and sometimes they say a lot of things that I'm like, what are you talking about? You're talking out your ass, or you actually don't know history and you're just being ignorant. And I think a lot of the times they play into their ignorancy and they know that their audience might be a little ignorant, or they know that their audience might like it when they become, very race baity with their commentary and their jokes. And it's fine. That's what you want to do. Fine. But I have no problem calling it out. And especially when it comes to this nonsense with the game, because now we're freaking out and here's the best part, right? There's two characters. There's Yasuke and Noe. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. And she can either sleep with the female characters in the game or the male characters. So, but we have this memory hole that you couldn't have done that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I just want people to keep in mind they're memory holding this idea, and it's been an original idea. There's nothing different about this. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, that's fine. You don't have to play the game. Here's the funniest thing about Grums and a lot of them, right? They say, if you don't like the games, if you don't like the content, don't play it. Fine. I would not play this game, Assassin's Creed Shadows, just for the ridiculous monetization of the price gouging. Whether it's from $69 to $109 and a 17-month monthly, subscription for a season pass. Those are reasons why I wouldn't buy this game. I wouldn't invest in that game. There will be other alternative methods to play the game. I'm not advocating for that, but that's a better way to protest this game than to actually spend money on it. But then here's a funny thing about it. Recently, I saw a tweet, and apparently Assassin's Creed Shadows is trending in terms of pre-orders in Japan at like number 2 or 3 for the PS. So who's really mad? Because if it's trending as one of the top pre-orders in Japan, well, then that tells me that that they're not too mad about the game. I'm sure there are some that are mad about the game, but I'm under the impression that, well, if it's doing well in terms of pre-orders in Japan, then I guess there's nothing wrong with the game, right? Someone clarify this for me, because I'm kind of confused. And this is just something I want people to think about, because go down into Japanese Twitter and see if they're really as mad about this game as the woke right are telling you. And I want you to think about that. You have the woke right, you have white men telling you how angry the Japanese people are. Just something to think about. And yeah, I know Ubisoft, the company, they've said a lot of ignorant things. They're calling Asian people white adjacent. I'm over here thinking to myself, well, guys, we know that this is par for the course. We know that these AAA games have been bought out by the Marxist ideology funding that's been given to them by BlackRock and Vanguard, and how they're trying to domesticate your belief system and re-educate your mind into a particular mindset. We already know about that. So if you want to be mad at anyone, be mad at BlackRock. Be mad at Vanguard. Be mad at the people who are giving them the money to do these things. But at the same time, don't play the game if you don't want to play as a black samurai. That's fine. I don't care if you don't want to play it. Here's a little funny thing for me. When I saw that you could play as Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I actually got kind of excited, because I was like, oh, that's cool. I know a little bit about how cool the Spartan women were of that time. I'm excited to play as her. And also, she was the first story mode trailers that I saw. I didn't see the guy, so I resonated with her first. But that's just me personally. And so I just want people to keep that in mind when you're moving forward and seeing all this controversies with these games. Sift through the bullshit and sift through the grifters, and really think about what should I really be mad about this game. And I'm telling you right now, the fact that they're not being historically accurate with the architecture and the social behaviors and structure within the Japanese culture of that time should not be a surprise to you, because at this point, none of these games really care about their game. None of these AAA companies care about the content of their game. Look at Senua Blade 2. 7 years in development. It's a 5-hour game. And then the head developer comes out and says, oh, our players, they love short games. No, we don't. We don't love short games. That's never been a thing. So I want people to really keep in mind, like, you got to start thinking about, when it comes to the gaming industry and movie industry, any of these kind of things, like, you have to really keep in mind how much of this stuff is just propaganda, how much of this is just nonsense, and pick your battles. Are you really going to be mad about playing as a black samurai in a historically fictional sci-fi world where they have devices that teleport you, where they have little globes that shoot out laser beams, where they have lost technology from an advanced human civilization that collapsed? I mean, think about that, guys. Like, how much historical accuracy are you expecting in this game? And especially now, when the passion to actually make these games as realistic as possible isn't there anymore. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you guys. All I know is that being mad that there's a black samurai is the last thing to be mad about. We really need to be mad about is the way that these AAA gaming companies are treating us as customers. They're making poor quality games. They're giving us a $70 game and it comes out half broken. It comes out half finished. Many of you saw the debacle with Cyberpunk 2077. Look how long it took for that game to actually be good and playable now. Think about that. Remember No Man's Sky? Think about how long it took to make that game what it is now. So, these are things to think about. I'm not mad about this. Listen, I don't. You could make an Assassin's Creed Sahara, and you could have it be that it is a white colonial boy who gets picked up by a tribe that is part of the Assassin's Guild, and they teach them their ways, and he goes out speaking their language and doing assassins dressed in their garb. I would play it because I know at some point he's going to find some advanced technology and then use a mask that has night vision in it, that's from 10,000 years ago, that also has the ability to shoot lasers. Fine, I'll play it. We know it's going to be ridiculous already. Ghost of Tsushima, an amazing game. What was it, Rise of the Ronin? So there are games out there that are Ghost of Tsushima probably is extremely historically accurate in every regard. So you know what you're getting with Ghost of Tsushima. You should know what you're getting when you're getting an Ubisoft game. Apologies for the alarm. But and to wrap things up, you should know what you're getting with Ubisoft. We know that Star Wars Outlaws is not going to be a good game. I can admit the character design, she's not a good looking character. She's not something that I want to look at for 8 or 12 hours. But when you look at the actual actress who did her in motion cap, you think to yourself, why didn't they just use her? So I don't know what that is. We kind of know that maybe within the gaming industry and maybe in Hollywood, they don't like promoting beautiful women. I don't know what that is about. Maybe that's just a lot of insecurity going on. But I'm not here to talk about that. The point that I want to make is, like, when it comes to them now calling him this black LGBT, face, and try to say, look what they're doing to the black man, and da 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 this and da 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 that, and completely excluding the female character that's in the game, mind you, and that you can play as her and have relationships with various men or women in the game. This is no different than Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I would be surprised if it's no different than in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If you've seen the show Vikings, there's literally a scene where Ragnar literally goes to the priest that he just kidnapped from his first raid in England and offers him to sleep with him and his wife. Sounds like to me the Vikings had plenty of freak-offs as well. I don't know. So far, what I'm seeing, it seems like the white people and the white adjacent Japanese seem to have plenty of freak-offs. So I don't know what's going on here. Who's really the freaks? And this is coming from an island brother down from the Caribbean. So I don't know. Y'all might have to have some stuff to be worked out. I don't know what to tell y'all. So I'm being facetious right now. But in closing, I think many of us out there, when it comes to a lot of what's been going on with a lot of the Marxism, the indoctrination. There's been a lot of stuff in the gaming, in the movies, books, and I know there's a lot of it, and I know it's overwhelming, but we also have to be mindful that some of it has been around for a while. And we also have to kind of roll our eyes when they go out and be like, oh, look, the first gay person in this film, or the first, that's not true. Listen, All in the Family, one of my favorite shows now that I watched with my mom. Love that show. I need my own, I need my Edith. I'm searching for my Edith. Love Archie. One of the episodes, it got an Emmy Award because it had the first lesbian actress on the show and had her talk about being a lesbian, right? These types of incredible moments in terms of social culture has been happening for a while now, so it's nothing new. All right, there have been lesbians in shows since the 80s. All right, there have been gay men in shows since the 70s and 80s. It's been around. It's nothing new. So don't let these, the woke right manipulate your emotions and the reality to suit their monetization of your feelings and of your perception of reality. Take some time and really digest what is being said to you and what is being spoken, and really look into it. And if you're a gamer and you played any of the previous Assassin's Creed Odyssey games, then you're like, well, we know that this is nothing new. I know many of them have played Mass Effect 2, but they're not going to talk about that. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them who are complaining about all the LGBTQ stuff probably did sleep with some of the guy characters in the games just because they thought it was funny. Like, what are we doing here? This is not a new concept. And when it comes to Yasuke, fine, if he was a servant and he was being used as a golden token boy, fine. Guess what? They made my boy a badass samurai. Deal with it. Tom Cruise got to be a samurai. Why can't we be a samurai? So, I'm just trying to, have fun with you guys. But, like, you look at the fact that there have been plenty of Yasuke games and, or characters in Japanese films and games or whatever you have. And even the Yasuke animated show on Netflix, he's been around. And even if he was just a minor dude who just carried some swords and an umbrella, fine. They decided to take him and make him something cool. That's nothing new. We've done that so many times with so many different characters in history, where we will change their course of history and make them do something completely different. And this is the whole point of the Assassin's Creed games. But I mean, at this point, where there's no Assassin's Creed in it. There's no assassins. Like I said, how are you playing Black Flag, but you're a pirate and you have your own boat, but you're an assassin? And the way I look at Assassin's Creed Shadows is that Noah, she is the assassin. She's the shadow assassin. And then you have Yasuke, he's an assassin, but he's the one that steps through the front door. And to pretend that that assassins only came through the shadows and things like that is ridiculous. There have been assassins who just walk through the front door and will bust a cap in your ass or a blade in your throat. Just something to keep in mind as you move forward with these kind of things. Like, I'm just saying, like, this is Ubisoft we're talking about, and we should be more upset at the pricing of this game than we should be upset at the fact that you're playing as a black samurai in a game where you have to go into people's DNA to tap into their memories to see what happened in the past, so you can find some crazy advanced artifact that can, like, stop time, or it can generate power. I mean, this is what we're talking about. And also, are we gonna forget that in Assassin's Creed, what was it? Assassin's Creed Origins, the one where you play in Egypt, where the final boss is Anubis, the god? In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you literally go to Atlantis and you're hanging out with Zeus. but this is historical accuracy to them, to the woke right. That's historical accuracy. Even though you're hanging out with gods, you literally fight gods in some of the Assassin's Creed games. But that's historical. But that's historical accuracy. But a black samurai, now you're getting a little inaccurate with his history. Like I'm just I'm just saying, everyone out there, like it's getting to the point now because you've seen how the left is. Everything is racist. Everything is sexist. That's how the left has been. Look at the right now. Everything is racist. Everything is sexist. Can you distinguish them? Can you distinguish Yellow Flash and those kind of people from Alyssa McConaughey? Can you really distinguish them? They both do the exact same thing. They're gaslighters. They're race baiters, grifters. I mean, what are we talking about? There's no difference between them, and I'm just here just calling it out as it is. I ain't got nothing against any of them. I don't really like how some of the way they be talking from time to time, but I ain't got nothing against them. But I'm gonna call this crap out when I see it. And you can follow them. You can support Grums. You can support any of them. Go ahead. That's fine. But let's call out the BS when we see it, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff. When they know that you can play as different characters, where you can have relationships with different characters in video games. That's not anything new, and they're acting as if it's new. And here's the best part, right? Because and they're going to use the black man as the face. So you have the woke right, you have white pop culture commentators who are going to exploit and make it seem as if the black man is the face of the LGBTQ movement in Ubisoft, completely ignoring that this pertains to both Yasuke and Noa, the girl, the female ninja. It relates to both of them. But they're literally going to pretend and manipulate it as if it only relates to Yasuke. That only he's going to be the one sleeping around with guys and girls and having freak-offs. When literally, as I said earlier, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can literally join in on an orgy with a goat. If you've seen Samurai Champloo, an incredible anime series with some of the best music made by one of the greatest music producers in the world, Nujabes from Japan, you'll know that show talks about how the various freak-offs that Japan has. Shogun talks about the various freak-offs that Japan has. Blue Eye Samurai talks about the cultural freak-offs that Japan has. Are we going to pretend that Greece wasn't freaky? They normalized pedophilia. If you want to talk about the freakiness, we can talk about how in Spartan culture, they in order to get the men to have sex with their wives, they would have to shave off their hair and dress them as little boys and lock them in a room and trick them into thinking that they're having sex with a little boy. That's in Greek culture. Ancient Greece, in Spartan culture. All right? Because when you went to Irgorgi to train to become a Spartan, the older Spartans would take a young boy underneath their wing, and not only would they train him how to kill, but they'd also train him how to have sex. That's part of Greek ancient culture, but we're not going to talk about that, right? And how that kind of made its way over here. What are we pretending as? So they weren't screaming and hollering back when Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out, and you can be the male guy and have sex with the female and male characters in the game. They weren't complaining about that with Mass Effect and all the other games out there that you can probably do that with. I know there's plenty of them. But this is the whole point that I'm saying. They're now going to exploit the black character in the game and run this grift that see what they're doing to the black man. They're making him the face of the LGBT movement in ancient Japan, when ancient Japan there weren't gay men having sex with men. You can find drawings of that from Japan, of old Japan. You know, you could, remember when they were freaking out about Tom Holland and the stage play with the African chick playing Juliet, and everyone was making fun of her looks and mad that it was a black woman playing Juliet in theater. We're talking about theater, right? Where I went to go watch The Elixir of Love, an Italian opera sung completely in Italian, and the female lead was a Chinese Asian woman. I'm not sure what part of Asia, but she was an Asian woman. She was the female lead, and she had to learn Italian to perform the play, and she was the lead. Okay, this was like almost 15 years ago. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when it comes to theater, you're going to have characters not play characters that aren't the same race as the original characters were. That's going to happen plenty of times. It's nothing new in theater. So the point I'm trying to make is like, just wait, like, wait until the next game, right? That is historically inspired, and then you just see one Asian character or one black character in the game, and it doesn't make sense, and it all falls apart. So I just want people out there to kind of be really self-aware about how you have the AAA gaming industry exploiting your wallet, but then you have woke right pop culture commentators and video game commentators exploiting your perception of reality and your belief system, and also your wallet and time. Just something to be mindful about when moving forward. And maybe I might do a round three for it if it keeps on getting more nonsensical. But you have to realize that a lot of these people, they're talking out their ass, and that's why it smells so bad on Twitter anytime this game comes up. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. If you've made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Yeah, I think that was a good way to end it.
Old potato.
Okay, well, the people who planted this potato, what was their gender identity?
See?
I need to make sure this potato aligns with my personal values.
See?
Did they identify as a potato?
See?
Say C one more time. I fucking dare you.
A. B. C. Stupid bitch.
Fuck yeah, real life gulag. I'm like a political prisoner. I'm such a freaking badass. Gonna join a prison gang, turn this toothbrush into a ship. Finna murder y'all bitches.
Hold up, did somebody say murder?
Oh my god, Fidel Castro.
Yes, it is I, Fidel Castro, Supreme Leader of Cuba.
So, what are you doing here?
I heard there was an American in my gulag. They didn't tell me she was so beautiful.
Oh, Fidel, stop it! You naughty, naughty dictator!
I brought you a little gift, my little communist princess.
Oh my god, Fidel. That's, the sweetest thing anyone has ever done for me.
Let us seize the means of reproduction.
My baby, you look just like your